This is Jay McLaurin, a pretty mid player that you probably don't even know that he exists. But this player changed the NFL as we know it today. In 2015, the Chiefs signed Jeremy for $55 million to fix the wide receiver problem. But in March of 2015, the NFL caught the Chiefs tampering with Jerry McLaurin, so the NFL took a third-round pick from 2016 and a sixth-round pick from 2017. Fast forward to the 2016 draft. The Chiefs wanted a quarterback named Paxton Lynch, but they needed a trade up to get him. But they couldn't make a good enough offer because they needed that third round pick. So instead, the Broncos had a better offer and they got Lynch. So the Chiefs had to trade down in the draft, and instead of getting a quarterback, they had to settle for a defensive player that won the multiple Super Bowls, and Chris Jones. But that's not it. The next year, the Chiefs needed a quarterback, so they had to trade up with the Bills to get a quarterback. And the quarterback that they got is a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a 2-time MVP, and Patrick Mahomes. All just because the Chiefs tampering with Jerry McLaurin made them get the two players that will help them win multiple Super Bowls. And that is, my friend, the butterfly effect. When one insignificant thing happens, changes the course of history, or how Google puts it, describing how a minor change can lead to vastly different outcomes, making a long-term prediction impossible. And this is just many butterfly effects that will change the NFL forever. Saturday, December 31st, 2005, Drew Brees and the Chargers are trying to make a playoff push, and it was the last game of the season. If they win, they would make the playoffs. But on one drive, Drew Brees got sacked by John Mobile. Drew Brees tried to recover the ball, but torn his lumbar and his right shoulder, and the Chargers lost that game. After the game, the Chargers were so scared of Drew Brees' health that they let him go in free agency. But in free agency, the Dolphins were looking heavily on Drew Brees as they needed a quarterback. But the quarterback room was so bad that they really needed him at the time. Nick Saban was the Dolphins coach at the time, and he wanted Drew Brees. So the Dolphins wanted to get him, and they did. All he needed to do was do his physical, and he would be a Miami Dolphin for life. But the worst thing happened. He failed his physical, and the doctors said that he would be out of the league in 3 years because of that shoulder injury. And the Dolphins lost interest and got another quarterback named Carlton Kimball. At the time, a safer option, and the Saints took a risky Drew Brees, and that risk paid off, as they won the Super Bowl, and Nick Saban did not want to be a Dolphin because they were losing so much, and he went to Alabama and made them a dynasty. But if Drew Brees never had that shoulder injury, he would have went to the Dolphins, and that would have made Nick Saban stay because he would have won and he would have stayed with the Dolphins. Which means that Bama never becomes a dynasty because Nick Saban never goes there. And that means so many other players would have not ended up in Bama, like Darren Henry, Daniel Hurts, and Mac Jones. All would have not ended up in Bama, and they would all end up on different teams because it was Nick Saban that brought them there. And that means, again, the biggest dynasty never happens, and all those players' draft stock could have went down, and they all could have went on different teams. Maybe Derrick Henry never becomes an explosive running back. Maybe Jalen Hurts never ends up in the Philadelphia Eagles and never wins a Super Bowl, and Mac Jones still becomes Mac Jones. And the Saints end up not winning that one Super Bowl that they won with Drew Brees, all just because of one shoulder injury. In 1997, Jim Harbaugh was a mid-quarterback playing for the Colts. He was a hard worker but didn't have the talent. The Colts had high expectations coming in the 1997 season, but they started the season 0-6, and as usual, people started to blame the quarterback, which was Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh didn't care about the criticism, but one player who used to play for the Bills was Jim Kelly. He became a full-time media guy, and he was not pleased with Jim Harbaugh's performance. The past few games, he started calling him soft, garbage, a useless quarterback, and that's where Jim Harbaugh crossed the line. He got so mad that one day on media day, Jim Harbaugh took it upon himself to punch Jim Kelly in the face and broke his hand. He would mix the next 3 games, which they all lost. The Colts ended the season 3-13, and they ended up going to the draft lottery. And in the draft lottery, they end up getting a quarterback that will change their franchise forever, that will win them multiple Super Bowls, and Peyton Manning. So, if Jim Harbaugh never punched Jim Kelly in the face and missed those next 3 games, they would have probably not got Peyton Manning. If they lost one of those games, they would have not got Peyton Manning and got that pick. Another team would have got Peyton Manning. If Jim Kelly never called him soft or garbage, again, it never happens. Peyton Manning never becomes a Colt. And that, my friend, is the butterfly effect. When one incident thing happened that changes the course of NFL history. If Drew Brees never had that one shoulder injury, that would change college football and the NFL forever. If the Chiefs never tampered with Jerry McLaurin, would have not ended up with Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones. Again, that's the butterfly effect. When one insignificant thing happens, changes the course of history as we know it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.